Hello, dear friends. It's wonderful to be here with you on Kardec Radio, always nourishing our souls 24/7. Welcome back, dear friends, to another study of the book. And life goes on by the experimenter Andre Lewis. He's going to be our beloved instructor here, teaching us beautiful lessons for immortality, how blessed we are. And here is sunshine shining coast to coast, bringing in more light for all of us. Hello, Vanessa. Thank you, dear friend. Victory of the good. We made it. Yay. Go, Team Jesus. Hello, sunshine.
Carol. Hello, Vanessa. Thank you for being here.
Yes, it's wonderful to be here, dear friends, in this beautiful intercontinental classroom. Yes, and we are going to start our study this beautiful afternoon by giving you and all of us a little summary of where we are in the book. The central characters in Andre Lewis' real life account are Evelina and Ernesto. They originally meet in the physical plane, but as they undergo a surgery, they both discarnate and meet again in the spiritual realm. At first, they don't even realize that they are free of the physical garment, but little by little, very lovingly, they are oriented by the experimenters and realize their new condition. In such a position that they see themselves, they open themselves up to the new, to re-educate themselves, to open themselves up to the true reality as they are living in our true and eternal home. And as such, they begin practicing charity towards other discarnate spirits, learning to serve the universal family. It is in such a circumstance, dear friends, that they meet Tullio, to whom they were both connected as incarnate spirits. And in today's chapters, chapter 17, Matters of the Heart, we are going to be educated, recalibrated, together with Evelina and Ernesto, with the help of Mentor Rebus, as to how to take responsibility, reincarnatory responsibility, immortal responsibility, and vibratory responsibility for the relationships which we cultivate. What a blessing, what a beautiful lesson for our immortal souls. And to express our gratitude, dear friends, we would like to ask our beautiful sunshine to guide us in an opening prayer.
Thank you, Carol. So let us close our eyes and open our hearts and open our minds with immense gratitude for being allowed to meet today on this platform of Cardiac Radio to nourish our souls, to learn lessons as a result, spirits on high, always being ready to serve us personally, to serve the collective, to bring messages forth through blessed mediumship so that we can work on our inner transformation, to realize that personal responsibility is one of the eternal, immortal building stones in our transformation towards God. And with this, we ask humbly to begin our study session this morning, and so be it.
So be it. Thank you, Sunshine. Would you like to start our guided reading of the chapter so we can study and learn together, please?
Yes, thank you, Carol. So
Thank you.
we are in chapter 17, Matters of the Heart.
Mhm.
10 months had passed since Evelina and Ernesto had started their assistance assignment with Mancini when the two asked for a hearing with Instructor Rivas concerning some issues burning in their minds. More than anything else, they wanted to see their loved ones in the physical plane. Ernesto had become a well of memories regarding his wife and daughter, and Miss Jennifer could no longer bear her homesickness for her husband and parents. Because they were so anxious to go back, they were eager for information. Their mentor welcomed them with his usual kindness, and after hearing their request, he replied simply, I believe you're not ready for this. You have duly dedicated yourselves to your work, and you know now what reincarnation, self-discipline, and in-space form really mean. And demonstrating sincere concern, Rebus asked, is there any particularly more intimately personal reason for your request? Somewhat embarrassed, Evelina answered,
Instructor, I have missed Kyle so much.
when far apart, husbands and wives start loving each other as if they were engaged all over again. And Nestor interrupted. I must confess that I too yearn for my wife,
Dear friend,
ventured Evelina, gazing expressively at their mentor.
while we are on the subject of conjugal relationships, I would risk a question.
Speak, my child.
We're aware of the fact that when I met Mancini again for the first time, I felt for a few moments like the irresponsible girl I once was. And I realized I was still strongly attracted to him. In order to fight these feelings, I found myself retreating mentally towards Kyle, my husband in the physical realm, and I felt like a satellite orbiting between two men. I started doing my best to help Tulio, and little by little, I began to realize that he most definitely isn't the man I would want for a companion. So to help and tolerate him at present, I feel the need for some sort of incentive.
Oh God. Shall we pause?
Yes, we shall, dear sunshine. And before we continue, let us say hi to our beautiful friend Rihanna. Hello, Rihanna.
Ria.
Thank you for your loving presence, dear friend. We shall all press on and persevere in the good for the love of God and the love of our beloved Master. Pressing on always as you do, beautiful Rihanna, with your whole family on Kardec Radio. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Rihanna. Nice to have you. Yeah, so this paragraph describes Evelina's problems, or let's say pain, and it really summarizes parts of our human love. And then Dr. Rebus reminds us of the love for God, the divine love. Our
Mhm.
is 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 limited, and we suffer from attachments, and we become possessive, not only sexually but all around in our being.
Mhm.
And our relationships are dominated by fear of loss. And out of that come other vices like jealousy and
Mhm.
a lot of pain that we create for ourselves because we form affinities of lower nature as a result of these sentiments. And then in contrast, we have the divine love that many of us, or maybe all of us, forget at least sometimes that it even exists and is so helpful. And it is actually Alexander in Missionaries of the Light who helps us understand divine love. because divine love is something that is exemplified everywhere in the universe. And he calls this the union, he calls it the union of qualities. And the union of qualities, just to give a few examples, we find in the attraction, in the affinity of chemical elements.
Mm-hmm.
And we find it also in the planetary magnetism, in the heavenly bodies, how they attract each other. And we find it, of course, in the love between souls or spirits. And if we look further at divine love, we realize that it's free of limitations. The planets or the chemical elements are not jealous of each other. They're not saying, oh no, this is the only element I can be attached to. Right? So
Right.
it is free of those sentiments. It's free of limitations. And so we, on our transformational journey we are on from lifetime to lifetime, we are actually searching for this exchange with divine providence, which Instructor Rivas is reminding us of. And so, what is our goal? To find more of this divine love on earth. And again, we refer to missionaries of the light, where we get instructed, because what is our human love? Ideally, it is the integration of one soul with another, we learn, for an entire lifetime. And that is in the realm of higher spirituality. So we're practicing and bringing awareness today to all of us to kind of look at our own love relationships, to see how much of the divine element, how much of God's love have we already been able to weave into our connections. That is one of our first questions to take into our own hearts, right, Carol?
Oh, beautiful sunshine, beautiful vitamin for the soul here. So, to complement what you were saying, we could practice throughout this week to look at those who we consider beloved to our hearts and no longer call them mine husband, my wife, my aunt, my uncle, my father, my mother, my child, but rather look at them and say, you are an immortal soul and you are a child of God, and I am here to support you in your eternal growth. So let us affirm to ourselves that our beloved ones are but a gift from God, and that we shall return them to God because they do belong to God. So let us refer to our loved ones as children of God. Shall we practice, sunshine?
Yes, definitely. We will do that. Beautiful,
That's
Carol. Thank
one of the ways in which divine love may grow inside of us. Effort and repetition,
you.
right?
Mhm. Yes.
Hello, Lisa Tellis. Welcome, dear friend, beautiful child of God.
Thank you, Lisa, for joining.
Shall we continue, sunshine?
Yes,
Thank you.
so let's see. I understand that we all breathe in the very essence of God, but this is a mystery. Oh, that's actually Evelina, isn't it? It's
Oh, yes.
sorry, Carol.
So here is Evelina. I understand that we all breathe in the very essence of God, but this is a mystery to me. I know we can't do anything without God, but between God and my duties, I need someone to uphold my spirit, someone to support me in my daily endeavors as I search for that state of mind we call inner peace, euphoria, or even bliss. This spiritual hunger makes me think night and day about reuniting with Kyle. Could it mean that he, as my husband, is really my one true love? That one spirit who will be the son of blessing to envelop me forever when we reach perfection?
Reba smiled and said philosophically, All of us are destined for love eternal, and yet, in order to reach that supreme objective, each of us follows his or her own pathway. For most individuals, finding ideal love is somehow like the search for gold in mines or diamonds in pits. You have to sift the gravel or sink your hands in the mire in order to find it. Whenever we love someone deeply, we make that person the mirror of our dreams. We start to see ourselves in the person that we have made the objective of our affection. If this person truly reflects our soul, mutual love grows more and more, guaranteeing us an atmosphere of encouragement and joy for the oft difficult evolutionary journey. In such a case, we will have found a safe support in the ascent towards our mental perfection. Otherwise, the person to whom we have particularly devoted ourselves ends up sending us back the feelings we project upon him or her, like a bank that ruins our investments due to mismanagement or the inability to safeguard our interests. At this point, we are faced with the spiritual conditions we call bitterness, disappointment, indifference, and disillusion. That is
Wow,
that's right, Carol. This so very much describes our relationship with planet Earth, doesn't it?
for sure.
Yes, and it's again, we're reminded of what Professor or Inspector Lewis said is to practice divine love, to see, as you said earlier, to see each and every single one. And right now we're talking about partner love, our partners as a child of God, most and foremost, as a soul that's like us on their path to perfection. And yes, nobody is perfect, and neither are our partners or
Mhm.
or we. And as we embark on this path of seeing everyone as a child of God, to see the God's spark in seed in each and every single human being, we become encouragers. We we experience others as encouragement, and we can encourage others
Mhm.
because we know that our path of redemption, which is life, is not easy. And so, what we need most and foremost in our relationships is encouragement, is being positive, supportive, to bring that God love more into the forefront. Right, Carol?
Right, sunshine. And I see also another aspect to the beautiful lesson of bringing in God's love that you're bringing to our attention. I also see the importance of us revisiting our own expectations regarding our relationships because we are not used yet on earth to living God centered relationships. Our relationships tend to be more self centered. And what do we mean by that? We mean that when we often on earth in general walk into a relationship, we often do so thinking about our needs. We expect our partner to almost guess what is in our minds, to be the Prince Charming or the Princess Charming that we idealize, but we idealize it in an egotistic, childish way, hoping that that person is tailored towards our needs. And this is very to serve rather than to expect to be served. Most of us on earth in general, because we are still evolving, are trained even by society as a whole through Hollywood movies, through cartoons in general, to expect to be served. We are fed with the message of the fairy tale fantasy. And as Professor Mentor Rebus brings to our attention, we are bound to face disillusionment if we do not readjust our expectations. In the book Sunshine, nosso lar. Whoops! Whoa, camera, lights, camera, and action. In the book Nosso by the same spirit author, André Lewis, we see in a conversation that he has with Laura, in whose home he is living in the spiritual realm, that the majority of marriages on the earth are of expiatory nature. What does that mean? That the two spirits come together through the laws of reincarnation in order to redress mistakes of the past and readjust accordingly. So most marriages, according to Miss Laura in the book Nosso Lar, are re-education opportunities for us. But if we walk in expecting to be served as princesses or princes, then we are more likely to repeat the old habits that we are here to redress. And this is why Miss Laura, in the same book, tells us that most marriages cannot meet in a 90-degree angle where the woman is meant to go vertically towards God through her creative powers, and the man is meant to go horizontally towards more earthly progress. She says that for a marriage to be balanced, a partnership to be balanced, the two angles must meet perfectly. But in most cases, they do not, because the man may be concerned about his or her, his job, workplace, first and foremost, or they may be having adulterous relationships, even if only by thought, through, for example, watching pornography. So they may be inviting the scarlet spirits to participate of the relationship and thereby making it more fragile. The same takes place with the use of alcohol, for example, if both partners use alcohol to numb themselves, then they are numbing their true feelings, disconnecting from their essence, literally, and inviting also wandering spirits into the relationship. So imagine how many layers begin to separate the partners. This is why it's important to readjust our expectations, and we thank Mentor Rebus, wherever he is right now, for this gift, for helping us all to recalibrate ourselves. Because as we revisit our expectations and prepare to be of service, even and foremost inside of our homes, learning to appreciate the partner as an immortal spirit, we will be more aligned with God's love. Right, Sunshine?
Beautiful, Carol. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you to Andre Lewis.
What's your
Yeah.
yes?
Okay. Shall we continue,
Yes.
Sunshine?
Let us move on. Um, so you mean to say, stated Ernesto, that over the course of our existence, we tread the pathways of affinity from one love to another until we find that unforgettable one who rises in our life as the flame of love eternal? Yes, Instructor Rebus answers, but we must understand the concept of love outside the limitations of sex, since the marriage union, although sublime, is only one of the manifestations of love per se. One particular man or woman may find in their spouse the ideal type. However, after marrying, they may feel more intimately connected to their mother or father, and sometimes they will find a stronger bond in one of their children.
Mm-hmm.
Love affinity is what really counts. And that is really important, right? In
Yes.
love affinity is what really counts. And Instructor Rebus reminds us that in our loving connections, in these unions of qualities, that exists everywhere in the universe. Here on planet Earth, we have lots of different love relationships, right? We have,
Right.
as we've talked about now, the love between partners. And we already learned that that's an integration of a soul that hopefully within higher spirituality, by seeing everyone as a child of God, by recognizing and nurturing and supporting the God seed in every single soul, we will turn around, we will improve our partner loves, our partner relationships. But we also have the love for right? God, Jesus
Mhm.
told us love God above all else, and there it is also, which Rebus sort of reminds us of, right? Where
Yes.
love God above all else, and your neighbor as yourselves. So here we're also realizing that it's not just between so-called romantic relationships, but it is actually a fraternal, a universal love that we are really called to practice, to see everyone as a child of God. And how can we not, if we really are on the path of practicing God's love, to love God above all else? Because we're all children of God. So one, it would not be logical if we don't love anyone else in the human realm. How can we love God, right?
Exactly.
And
And to add to what you were saying so beautifully, Sunshine, this is why reincarnation is such a blessing from God's love and wisdom. Because as we reincarnate, we are invited to meet the same spirits again in different configurations. Why? Exactly to learn to practice fraternal love. What is a beautiful example of that? Is an example of Brother Felix and Marcia. Brother Felix is a beautiful mentor in the in one of the schools in the colony Nosso Lar, specializing in relationships and the re-education of our sexual creative forces. And Mentor Felix recognizes that he was responsible for the entangling of two families that get themselves in deep trouble emotionally and spiritually because of actions that Brother Felix took more than 100 years ago. If you want to know more, either read or listen to the book Sex and Destiny, which is beautifully available on Kardec Radio. But our point is that Brother Felix, who used to be the romantic partner of Marcia in a previous reincarnation, asks God and Jesus to reincarnate as her grandchild so that he may shower her with fraternal love and do as Master Jesus has taught us, cover a mountain of mistakes with love. So it's beautiful how reincarnation allows two previous partners to meet again as grandmother and grandchild, to reestablish and to make that bond even stronger.
yes, beautiful, Carol. And
Yes.
sometimes we, our so-called enemies, we need to love too, because
Mhm.
they also are most likely a relationship that we recycle. And to love our enemies, we are always asked to forgive and to return good for evil. So that's another form that also Jesus asked us to practice. Another form of love. We'd never know how we recycle our connections, right?
Yes.
Configuration, so to speak.
So if we have a challenging relationship in our configuration,
Mm-hmm.
Sunshine, we may do as Saint Augustine recommends in chapter 14, item 9 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. We look at that person, forgive me, we look at that person and we say, God bless you. I probably have made a mistake in the past. I ask you for forgiveness. And we visualize ourselves with that person living in harmony, even if that has not state of harmony has not manifested yet. We know that thought is life, right, sunshine, and that if we visualize the good in that person, if we feel the good in that person, if we seek the good in that person, that will most certainly, without a doubt, manifest. So if we are watching this program together, either right now or on demand, we are being recruited by the Christ, Jesus of the earth, to be soldiers of peace and revisit our challenging relationships as blessings from God, as opportunities for us to extend a loving hand to those who are in much need of love. And let us remember that, much like Evelina and Ernesto, we are probably now the ones who asked to be of help to those whom we are learning to love. So let us really accept Jesus' invitation and practice extending love even to our temporarily challenging relationships. Right, Sunshine?
Yes, Carol. A teacher once told me to live by the maxim, bless them, bless the others, change myself.
Yes,
That's so
beautifully
important.
said.
If we really live by that, we are on a steep path to inner transformation.
Thank you for the beautiful invitation.
Thank you. So, Evelina is next, isn't it?
Oh, Evelina says, instructor, what about marriages that are a torment, the unhappy ones? Excellent question.
Excellent question. Indeed, reincarnation is also recapitulation. Many couples in the world are composed of spirits who meet again to carry out particular tasks. At the start, their sentiments juxtapose in terms of affinity, like the cogs of two wheels that complement one another to make the mechanism of marriage work. Thereafter, they perceive that it is essential to polish up other parts of this living mechanism so that it can produce the hoped for blessings. This demands understanding, mutual respect, constant work, and a spirit of sacrifice. If one part starts misunderstanding the other, or if both parts start misunderstanding each other, the work that had begun or re-begun will come to an end. And that certainly happens a lot, that we
Yes,
misunderstand each other. And just as an opening, and you spoke to it a little bit already, Carol, is whoever we find in our lifetimes are just based on where we left off in the previous existence, right? It's not in life. Emmanuel is very clearly telling us that the road we initiate our reincarnation on, our new existence, is the continuation of where we left it off in the previous incarnation. And so we are usually reincarnated on earth based on our needs, based on the debts we incurred. And out of that, he coins a beautiful term, and that is redemptive duties. We're here to fulfill our redemptive duties, which means to undo past wrongs, to fulfill the duties we didn't fulfill in a previous existence, and to look at our affinities. Are we linked to another person based on our lower nature? Or are we actually bringing divine love into our relationships? And even if we do all of this, divorce does happen, right, Carol?
right, Sunshine. I would like to bring another case by Andre Lewis. Oh, excuse me, in the book. I have it here to inspire all of us in the book Action and reaction. Lights, camera, and action. Ta-da! Action and reaction. So much for us to learn. In this book, Andre Lewis brings the case of Marcella to our attention. Marcella is married to Ideo, and Ideo starts to have an extramarital relationship with another person. He doesn't see a way out, so he plots even to murder his wife. Thanks to the intervention of the good spirits, that does not take place. And Marcella, however, notices how distraught her husband is, and she decides to pray. As she prays, she connects to the mentors, and during her sleep, because she's sleeping intelligently, because she connected the Wi-Fi of her soul with spirit teachers and spirit mentors, they came to her aid and they explained to her that although the bonds of marriage are sacred, that our partners have the right to leave it because they have free will. If they choose to amount greater debt by leaving the relationship to continue that process later on, they are entitled to. So the mentor literally tells Marcella, allow your husband to be free to live because you shall continue again in another reincarnation. So, what Mentor Steelers in the book Action and Reaction says goes hand in hand with what Emmanuel tells us in the book Thought and Life. We shall continue exactly where we left off. So, an end of a marriage per se is not the end because, as spirits who are in constant evolution, we shall meet again in another configuration to continue our readjustments because we learn that no marriage, no relationship happens by chance, and that we are together, says Mentor Rebus, to practice self-sacrifice, mutual understanding. And if one of us or both of us are not ready yet for this level of commitment, we respect one another and we know that life literally goes on. And for this reason, we no longer need to feel the burden of an end because there is no end for God's love and God's plan. God's plan for us of evolution is eternal. So if we have experienced the end of any relationship, we no longer need to feel the burden of the end because Spiritism, blessed doctrine of light, helps us to decode, recode, and encode this differently by showing us that we shall continue the experience in another time and that we can bless what we have learned throughout it because God gives us many chances as life goes on. Right, sunshine?
Yes, Carol, beautifully stated. It's not good to feel guilty because
Right.
also Emmanuel tells us it just drips poison into our being, into our perispirit, and will get us sick.
Right. So let us invite everyone who has undergone any difficult endings to revisit that and re-signify it as a continuation of a series of experience and to find the blessings that are there within.
Yes, as
Right, sunshine?
as Americans say, we only kick the can down the road. We'll pick it up time, but not feel guilty about it.
Right, there you go. Let us continue to learn, right?
Yes,
Okay.
Evelina.
Oh, where are we exactly?
Page
Oh,
one.
Evelina questioned, floated in the air.
Yes. No, she says, and then Evelina questioned, yes. Then the spouse who failed at the commitment, or both, depending on the cause of their disunion, must wait for a new opportunity in the future to rebuild the love they squandered. And we talked about that already.
Yes, instructor, please allow me a question. If the conjugal union of two individuals who love each other is interrupted by the death of one of them, can it be restarted here? Here meaning in the spiritual realm?
Yes. Certainly, if the two truly love each other, if the two truly love each other.
Hmm.
And Fantini interrupted, and if not, the one who loves sincerely continues working on this side of life, which is the spirit side, to help the one on earth who does not have the same feelings. The former continues perfecting the sentiment of love in ways other than matrimony. Mrs. Serper's face lit up with a beautiful smile, and she declared confidently,
That wouldn't happen to me. I now have enough reasons to trust Kyle as much as I trust myself.
"Your faith," replied the instructor, "is a picture of your sincerity." Ernesto gazed at his companion for a long time and admired the tenderness of her good, innocent soul. For some time now he had been nurturing a deep affection for her. He had never caught her doing anything wrong. She was always compassionate and selfless. Sometimes he felt connected to her by an enchanting attraction. From what perspective did he love her? As a daughter, companion, mother, sister? He couldn't decide. Afraid of letting his mind wander too far, Ernesto, good friend that he was, interjected with the clear intention of reining in his thoughts. "Instructor Rebus, like Evelina, I too am sure that my wife is waiting for me. But what if she isn't? If she isn't," and the mentor emphasized his words with a fatherly tone of good humor, "you will have the opportunity to help her as a fraternal friend. And in that case, would I have the right to choose a new partner in this realm?" he asks. "Human laws," responds Instructor Rebus, "both in the terrestrial realm and here, are susceptible to being modified, and in essence they do not affect divine laws. On the earth, widowhood is not an obligation. Those who remain alone are free to do so. Once the bonds of marriage are broken with the death of the body, men and women alike remain on their own when they have reasons for it. It is only natural that the same would be the case here. The discarnate man or woman stays single or not, according to his or her inner purposes. However, we must remember that in either case there are resources to honor the efforts of building the pure love that will end up reigning permanently in our relationship with others. Let us Professor, I always want to call him Professor Rebus because he's so wise, right, Carol?
Right, sunshine.
Just he's talking, he starts off this paragraph with talking about human laws, both in the terrestrial realm and in the spirit realm. So human laws reign on both sides. And he speaks about them being modified. They're not like divine laws, which are immutable. And so we're wondering, well, if our human laws are susceptible to change, why don't we just simply follow the divine laws? Why do we need human laws? Right, Carol?
Right.
It's a good question, right? And Alan Kardec was wondering about the same. And the spirits on high told him wisely, well, you do need human laws because most of you don't know much about the divine laws. And that's why it is important that you have those civil laws, those human laws that help you, guide you in your social and familial relationships. However, those human laws always just reflect the consciousness of our times. And when we look back, and see what happened 2000 years ago, the laws were very different and we've come a long way, but we still also haven't come a long way because we still have the same tendencies, right? Despite of the modified human laws, divine civil laws that we have in place. Well, I wanted to add, later on he talks about the widowhood and letting go of the relationships. When we look at the divine laws, Jesus tells us to not separate what God has joined, right? But that does not apply to the human. And we talked about it. You brought the cases from action and reaction, and also non solar. But Jesus was referring to was really the union according to the immutable laws, to God's laws. That's when we are connecting on a much higher realm to each other. And that's when the unions, it doesn't matter where we are, whether we are in the spirit realm or whether we're on earth or any other planet, the unions continue. It is only when we're still on a lower level, we change, and we change out of relationships because one of us develops faster than the other. And so it's a totally different situation. Jesus did not speak to our civil laws when he said, let no man separate what God has joined. Right, Carol?
Absolutely, Sunshine. And he was also, I believe, talking about the beauty and the wisdom, the perfection of the law of reincarnation.
Yes.
Because even if we stop our educational program here for this life, for one reason or another, as you said, one partner may grow out of sync with the other. So they may not be able in a given lifetime to finish up with their educational program. So what happens? We continue on as life goes on. So we are never truly separated if God doesn't wish us to be. Because even though we may be separated physically and through human laws, before God, we are still going to connect for redemptive purposes. So if we think of ourselves as eternal spirits, there is no such thing as eternal separation. This is why Jesus said that we cannot break the bonds that were created by God. And on a higher level, if we think of our divine and loving Master Jesus, He loves us so much each and every day that the thoughts and feelings of his and other Christ like spirits are what give us the Son. So He is the ultimate model of constant, fraternal, unending, immortal love. And one day we shall reach this level as well, because Jesus says in the book Living Spring, when he writes a message entitled Real Humanity. Emmanuel explains to us that Jesus didn't come to earth to be the model of how to be an angel. Jesus came to us to teach us how to be humans. So if we practice little by little to have replace less happy thoughts with more loving thoughts, we are coming closer and closer to the imprehensible bonds of love that Christ already literally nourishes our bodies and souls with. And He personally invites us to let our light shine, right, sunshine? As He
Yes.
says that we can do what He has done and much more. So as we practice to be like the Christ, since He is our guide and model, we become closer and closer to the type of love that shall never break, because the type of bond that we have with our Master and Lord is unbreakable.
Yes, it is beautiful, Carol.
Yes.
And he also gave us one tool that helps us to practice this divine love. And that tool is very practical, of course. It's the golden rule.
Yes.
We just simply apply that to every single relationship that we have, even the person we just meet in the supermarket or wherever for a moment. And we always keep that in mind to treat others as we would like to be treated. We're a few years ahead, right, Carol?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shall we continue?
Yes, we shall. Please.
Hmm. Displaying a look of concern, Evelina sought more information.
Excuse me. Go ahead, Sunshine.
It's Evelina speaking on top of page 140.
Oh, thank you kindly. I myself,
Instructor, do you know anyone?
mm, excuse me, instructor, do you know anyone who could not get married here?
I myself. And special reason, Fantini asked? Rebus answers, it just so happens that when based on pure love, conjugal love continues to vibrate at the same pitch between the two worlds without the exchange of energies from one partner to the other suffering any disruption. My wife and I have always been profoundly united. On earth, we were enough for each other in terms of love. After my discarnation, I soon realized that she and I remained closely bonded as if we were integral parts of a circuit of energy. In her spiritual dedication, I find the means to continue my learning experience of love for all humankind. The same applies to her. Isn't that beautiful?
That is amazing. What a incredible treasure we have, right, Sunshine?
Yeah, it shows us how much evolved uh, Professor Rebus, I call him, and his wife are, because they are practicing the divine love and the encouragement and support and incentive. It doesn't matter which realm they find each other in. It was. It's actually Jesus who always referred to God's love. Right? Jesus always said that I it's not me, don't look at me, I'm just practicing God's love, right? My Father is the source of my inspiration, right? And so it is really Professor Rebus who is seeing the divine love. He's at that level of being inspired by the divine love between him and his partner. Just as Jesus drew of the divine love as an inspiration, these two are evolved enough to draw of from each other's God's love that they're carrying and bringing forth. Right, Carol? Are you there? Carol? Can you hear me? Carol, we are live, it looks like. Carol, can you hear me?